Hello, my name is Rain. I'm non-binary, transgender. For me, those terms are a little interchangeable. Um, and yeah, I've been a little inspired to be vulnerable right now for some reason. So I'm going to go on a bit of a rant. I don't have any notes or any really pre-planned thoughts, so this video is probably going to be messy, but fuck it. So yeah, basically, I guess this is about, being trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, or any other term that is suitable. And I guess my personal experience with that. I wouldn't say I'm like other people in that it's just something I always knew. I always had this feeling, or always knew that who I was on the inside was different to the outside. However, there is something else that I always have known, and it's that I really, really hate conformity, and I hate fixed ideas, and I hate not being able to change and to become something else if I want to be. And while maybe some people might not see that as valid in the context of, gender identity, I think it's a important perspective for, various reasons. So for anyone who is new here, who hasn't seen any of my other videos or anything like that, I'm non-binary, but I prefer to, present myself femininely. That's what I envision myself as, and, enjoy presenting myself as and feel comfortable in. Again, it was never this thing like where I felt like, from a young age, I was like, I always knew, yada yada. But I've always had a deep respect and admiration for women that I, sometimes never paid much mind to. I just found it normal. And other times I thought maybe there was something more to it, but I didn't really know what to make of it. But, for example, I've always gravitated towards feminine characters, feminine stories. And in a lot of ways, I place myself in the shoes, or I see myself in those characters, especially the underdogs, the very strong underdog type of women. I definitely, for some reason, always resonated with. For example, one of my favorite mangas is Battle Angel Alita. I've always admired characters who have had this, sort of unique, almost equal blend between masculinity and femininity. And, for me, when I look at, the world and society and how we're often told and given these boxes that we're supposed to fit in. And I guess I'm just the kind of person who's always asked why. Why do I need to fit into that box? Why do I need to have a label for myself? Or why does my identity and who I am have to be understandable and comfortable for other people? For me, I think it can almost be dangerous when we cling too hard to what society defines is a certain identity. For example, this is a man, this is what a man is, and this is what a woman is, or this is what a successful person is, and this is what a failure is, or this is what a good person is, and this is what a bad person is. The moment you don't fit into that, your life is fucking over. Your identity is shattered, right? If you're a man and you're not muscular and tall and make a lot of money, then you're not a man, I guess, or if you're a woman and you're not beautiful and kind and compassionate and always fall into line, then you're not a woman or something. Or if you don't make X amount of money, or you don't have X kind of job, then you're a fuck up, you're a failure in the eyes of society. Or if you don't have this kind of personality, then you're not cool, things like that. And to me, it's always just been bullshit, Like, I've never really bought into all of that, and I still don't really see why I should, or anyone should for that matter. And so maybe this video isn't just about gender identity, but just identity as a whole. For me, I've always been a very spiritual person, so I don't identify too heavily with my body. I personally see, feel, and understand that I'm a soul first and foremost, that has a body, and that this body is an expression of my soul, but it's not who I am. I'm sort of, you know, a soul who has a body, not the other way around. And it's sort of through that understanding that I've always allowed myself to change. I would say I'm the kind of person who changes a lot. I think every year I become almost unrecognizable, at least in my own eyes, to who I was the previous year before. And part of that is because I don't have a super fixed sense of identity, I guess you could say. And I'm not saying everybody is this way or needs to be this way, but that's just how I am. And for me, it's always allowed me to redefine myself and always be the person that I prefer to be and want to be to the best of my ability. And so, going back to identity as a whole, I feel like we as people unfortunately tend to attach our identity to things, right? Again, our job or our looks or the people we have in our lives, partners or friends or any number of things that are outside of ourselves, And again, it's dangerous because the moment one of those things changes, you lose your sense of identity and your grounding, and it can be very disorienting. I wouldn't say I struggle as much as a lot of other, my other trans and non-binary friends out there with, body dysmorphia or gender dysmorphia. I wouldn't say it's something I struggle as much as the next person, but it is definitely something on my mind. I'm not on hormones or anything like that. I haven't had any sort of surgeries or anything like that. And obviously I'm not against anything like that. But for me, I just can't really shake this feeling that I just don't feel like any of those things would be a solution for me personally. I don't see my body as the problem or that there's anything wrong with my body per se. If anything, I see a problem with society. Maybe that's a little narcissistic, I don't know. But I genuinely feel like the problem is more so not just with society, but also with, our beliefs and our mentality. Because, again, going back to the soul perspective, right? If we're just souls who have bodies, right? This is just my perspective, but you can follow me along for the sake of the example. If we're souls that have bodies and not defined by our bodies, then we're everything. We're both masculine and feminine. We have both of those energies within us, and we can express that. However, it doesn't matter what kind of body you have. Who you are on the inside is who you are on the inside. It's not about your body. And to me, that's such a simple, fundamental truth that unfortunately it doesn't seem a lot of other people understand, or that other people have a hard time understanding. And, that's okay. People have their own thoughts and they are where they are in their life and their journeys. But to me, that's just something that eventually will become common sense. It's not, it's really not anything revolutionary to me, in the same way that once it used to be crazy to think that the earth was round and now it's just common sense. It's just, as we've progressed and learned and grown as people in our society, it's become a provable truth. And I feel like eventually we're going to get to that point in society, but unfortunately we're not there yet. And so I guess maybe the point that I'm trying to make, and the reason why I felt inspired to start recording, is because I guess the main thing I want to say is that you're not defined by anything. And this goes for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're trans or not. Anybody watching, if you're a man, woman, non-binary, whatever you identify as, wherever you are in life, rich, poor, young, old, woman, man, from this country or that country, you're not defined by any of those things. They can certainly be a part of you and an important part of you, but yet, nonetheless, you're not defined by them. You're not limited by them. All these labels and values that society, at least, modern Western society, has thrown onto us, a lot of it, if not most of it, is bullshit. And we're seeing now with the revelation of, rich people who do fucked up things behind closed doors to vulnerable people. You guys know what I'm talking about. These are the people who perpetuate and make up these rules. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't really give a fuck what people like that think about me or how I should be or who I should be. I don't care what dictators and fascists think about me. I don't really want to live in a world where we look down on people like the homeless as if they're not, equal to everybody else. I don't really want to live in a world where we look down on each other because of where we're at in life, whether we're successful, quote unquote, or if we're down on our luck. People who are homeless, people who are sick, people who are disabled, people who genuinely need, resources and people to help them and look after them. Having nice things is wonderful and all, having a nice house, having a nice car and all of that is wonderful, but I just would hate to be someone who values those material things way more than the people around me. It's so easy to judge ourselves and feel judged by others when we look in the mirror and look at who we are or who we think we are based on what we see or where we're at in life. And it really shouldn't be that way. Again, to me, it's such a simple truth, but unfortunately, it's one that a lot of people still have yet to learn. Everyone has value and worth regardless of what they have or how they identify or even what they do with their life. Human worth is inherent. There's nothing that can be done to change that, to take that away. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. You're perfect just the way you are. If there's things you wish you could change about yourself and your life, that's perfectly okay. And I'm sure many of those things are absolutely possible for you to change if that's something you truly desire. But whether or not you're at that place or you have that thing doesn't determine your worth as a human being. Your worth is inherent. Nothing can take that away from you. And I guess to tie this back to the original topic I started this video on, which was, gender identity. You know who you are deep down and who you prefer to be. It doesn't matter what kind of body type you have or what you look like when you look in the mirror. You are who you say you are. Whoever you desire to be or prefer to be, that's what you are. And it's funny because a lot of the time it's not even about, the body or the physical things around us that show people who we are. It's our energy, right? Because certain people, you just feel it off of them. You feel, if someone's a very radiant, kind person, you just feel that. They emanate that. I don't know if hormones or anything like that is in my future. I'd love to be more of a baddie. But in my eyes, what's most important is that I just be myself authentically. And that's an entirely internal thing. I know who I am. I don't need to prove who I am to anybody. Anything that I do, any way that I express myself is because that's who I am and that's how I enjoy and prefer to express myself. It's not about trying to fit into any sort of box, or trying to conform to any beauty standard or anything like that. It's just about self-expression. I'm not limited by any shackles that are trying to be imposed on me, and neither are you. So to all my, trans, non-binary, queer friends out there, you're perfectly valid just the way you are. Any changes you may want to make are valid too. However, you as you are right now is perfectly valid, and there's nothing that can ever take that away from you or change that. And the same goes for everybody else too. Whether you're someone who maybe struggles with your body appearance or, feel like you haven't had the success that you've wanted in life yet, you're not defined by those things. And when you really understand that, that's when you become free to be who you are and to really shine in who you are. This world is lacking a lot of compassion right now, unfortunately, but you don't have to let yourself be a victim to that, because you're so much more than that. Everyone around you is so much more than that. I like the word transgender because of the root trans, right? Like transcend, like you're transcending the limitations that have been imposed on you, knowing that you're beyond that you're so much more than that, and you can't be contained by that. And I think there's wisdom in that for everybody, that you're not stuck and defined by where you are currently or who you think you are currently, that you can always become something different. I think that's very freeing. No matter who you are, how you identify, or where you are in life, I think the most important thing is that you always strive to be the best you that you can be, the most authentic you that you can be, irrespective of anyone else's opinions or beliefs. And that might not always be easy to do, but it's the most worthwhile thing to do to have a healthy and fulfilling and happy life. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to be relatable. You just need to be who you are, and you know and feel who you are deep down. But yeah, I don't really know where else to take this rant at the moment. I'm not used to really speaking off the dome like this, so if I have any more thoughts, I'll be sure to make a part 2. But to anyone who's watched all the way to this point, thank you. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you have a nice day, nice rest of your day. Until next time, peace.